Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I am back finally in my studio. It's been it's been a little while since I've been here. Actually, it's only really been a week, but feels like a long time. I realized that I've had a lot going on here this morning. Not completely organized, but we'll get ourselves sorted. Thanks, Chad. Hopefully you are also doing well. There we go. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for joining me over on YouTube. So weird, something happened with my ability to stream to Facebook. So I went to do that today and get a stream key, because on Facebook you have to create a live stream and then take the unique stream key and put it into vMix. It's not a huge deal. It's an extra 2 steps, but it's fine. Although I clicked on go live and it said you need a bigger audience in order to stream live to your channel. So either I lost followers or they changed their rules, and I don't have very many people following me on this channel, so on Facebook, so it means I can't do it. However, I did post a link to the YouTube video, so hopefully that will work for the time being. I've also got some feedback from some folks. I was having an online meeting before I went to Nashville last week, and they were talking about having a pretty bad echo going on between my RE20, which now is not super close to my face, and my speakers that are here on the stage. And I was noticing inside vMix this morning that the microphone was picking up the music pretty well. And so I don't actually even know. I should probably listen to this stream and find out what it sounds like, right? Because I haven't even checked that, but let's do that real quick and see what this sounds like. Of course, it doesn't show my own stream on my page. Okay, let me take a look. Okay, cool. So that's nice and clear at a very low volume. So I'm quite actually happy with that. Seems to be working just fine. And anyway, so I'm not too sure what happened with the Facebook stuff, but I did repost it on Facebook that we would be over here in on the YouTube. So we'll hit that up and just run the show off of here. This is a quick update show as to what we're doing. Great. Thank you, Chad. Thanks for letting me know. This is a quick update as to what's been going on the past 2 weeks. So out of the gates, I did travel down to Nashville with my family. So we took a road trip and spent several days traveling there. We left on Tuesday of last week and returned on Monday, and went down to Kentucky, Richwood, Kentucky, which is just on the other side of Cincinnati, and stayed in Kentucky for a night, and then drove down the rest of the way to Nashville near Brentwood. And we stayed there for several days, got to do multiple things, and we just had a good chance to hang out and see what was going on down there. Also, the church that I work for, we did everything on Sunday. I was a camera operator on Sunday, just part of the team, essentially. I am the director of production at our Safe Harbor, but I'm a tech member most of the time that I'm there. And, initially I was calling the show, but now I've got another guy that... let me just respond here. Thanks. GVC is a selectable source, but no. Okay, it's working. Thanks. All right, cool. So, I'm sorry, providing tech support for a previous camera I used to run tech support for. So, we did some recording on Saturday when we were down there, and then we met up with some friends that are living there in town, and spent several nights in a hotel. Kids love staying in a hotel, as kids normally do, because they get to go swimming every day, pretty much. And then lots of fun meals and whatever. And there was one day my son was feeling a little off, but outside of that, we were fine. So had a good trip, busy. We did little video audio magic with one of the songs that we recorded, because I wanted to actually play a bass line. Some of you know that I picked up a bass guitar a few months ago, and I wanted to play a bass line that on a song that my wife was singing. And so I have that now edited and done on YouTube, but I might play it first so that you can see the end result of it, and then we'll talk about it here in just a second. So, although, how am I going to show that on YouTube? Because it's on a different account. You know what? I can get it. So let's go. I'm going to go over to my remote. Just grab the link from that video, which is here. Get a shareable link. And then I will open it in a new tab. Paste and go. All right. So we are very much so building, like we're building a lot of this, whatever we're calling it right now. Church is kind of the name that we're calling it, but it's not really a church, because what we're doing is creating content for other churches. Okay, so we're trying to create sermons and services even for people who don't have congregations, that sort of thing. That's what we're up to. So we don't have a band. We don't have like a lot of vocalists, even for Nashville, which is hilarious, because in Nashville, I had this question. I was like, you would think in Nashville there would be lots of musicians and lots of people available to play and everything. And I asked the guys about that I'm working for, and I said, you would think that you would be flush with all sorts of musicians and people available. And he said, well, the issue is that, let me just put this here. The issue is that there's so many people that need musicians and need, vocalists and whatever, that there's really not enough to go around where you would have multiples in the same location. And so not only just for churches, but for all sorts of venues and whatever, most places in Nashville are limited to, musicians who are accomplished or who know their stuff, mostly because there's so many opportunities to participate that there's just like one or two per venue. And so that goes for churches as well. If you find a congregation in Nashville that's just flush with a ton of talented musicians, they're usually a bigger congregation. And so they have the ability to invite or pay for all of those musicians to be in their band, whereas a lot of churches are relying on volunteers, and that's when it's few and far between. So the lead pastor at the congregation that I'm at, or lead minister in the vein of church work that I do, he also is a pretty good guitar player. And so he's been playing guitar for a long time, and he sings some, which he would prefer not to sing, I think, but he also plays guitar, which he enjoys doing, and he's got quite a collection of guitars. And so I run in a realm of accomplished musicians, and he is one of those. Patrick is one of those guys, but also the people that I'm friends with and have been friends with for a very long time many of them are also very good musicians. And I married a musician. So my wife is an accomplished singer. She plays a few instruments, but she would prefer to sing more than anything. And so when we're down there, we record some music for them. And that is one of the ways that we, interact with this congregation. And we had a chance to record this song. So I will just cut over here to my other screen. This is I Am Not Alone by Curie Job. But let me see if this is going to work. Yes, it is playing. This is Patrick.
When I walk through
This is my wife.
deep waters, I know that you will be with me. When I'm standing in the fire, I will not be overcome. Through the valley of the shadow, I will not fear. I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never leave me. I am not alone. I am not
So we do some recording,
I see your light is
and
breaking
I don't know what the sound quality on your phone is for this song, but this was such an interesting build because we're, like I said, we're slowly kind of building the like worship aspect of this group, but it's really not the focus of what it is that we're doing, because we find that the music piece, for now, the music piece of our little gathering here is not really what people are around for. I mean, statistically, we look at the portions of the service that people tune into, and for the majority, it's when Patrick is teaching, and that's fine. I mean, that's what people are interested in, and that's what the data shows. If you were to ask people, do you like the teaching? Do you like the singing? They're going to say, yeah, it's all good. But the truth is that people do tune in, and their actions do help us understand where their intentions are. And generally, it is when Patrick is teaching. He's a dynamic teacher. I've known him for many years. Very inviting, and he's excellent in what he does. But then the other elements that are around his teaching on Sunday mornings, is a typical kind of non-denominational Christian church type of thing. And so we don't see high viewership during music or during other portions of the service. We see it during the lesson, which again is totally fine. So how much do you invest then in something like this? Because is it something that you want to grow? There's so many people doing music. If we want to see musical excellence, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of videos online that already do that. And so whether or not it's worth your efforts to, spend all the time doing that is, I don't know if that's valuable or not. So, we flirt around this idea as to like how much time do we put into it. So we're not really like building a band, we're not really building like a musical industry or ministry out of this. We're just trying to create content because we like to try and use music, whether it's pre-recorded or live, during the services, before and after the lesson. So this was one of the songs that we kind of worked on when we were down there this weekend. And what's funny about this is we took a production standpoint where we had, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. We had Patrick and Holly playing at the same time. There was a pad underneath them as well. So there's the bass chord of the song was also being played. But we had them playing, and then after the fact, I played a bass line, and we just recorded the bass line on video, in parallel with the audio. And I sent those up to an online database, and when I got back on Monday, I cut those together, and about 10:30 at night, I had finished this video and posted it for some people to see. Now, we don't normally post these things on YouTube, copyright stuff and whatever, right? So we don't do that, but we do play them during our service to where we have CCLI licenses to do that. And but I did not play with these two. I played after the fact. And Patrick had to get on to something else, and Holly was hanging around with the kids, trying to keep them quiet. And so I played on camera after the fact, and that's kind of how we built it. And then I imported those into DaVinci, and I cut them together at the end. So I only appear a couple of times. Thank you. Also in green again. I only appear a couple times in this video, but I am playing a bass line in there. And if you're wearing headphones, you may have heard it. I have been told that on a phone you can't hear the bass line, but that's phone speakers for you. So there you go. All well and good. But it was fun to kind of build this and to try something different. And the pad, we hadn't done the pad before, and so that was fun to try and throw that into the mix and see how that worked. And it was fun. It was a fun little project that we all kind of got to hang around with. Now this did not fire for some reason. Why didn't that go? We got some people in the chat. What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you're doing well. I'm going to, why isn't that cutting out? It's not showing let's see if this one shows. Who's that handsome man in green? Whoa, where did my video go? That was weird. I don't know which. This one. Okay, number 1. All right, got it. Yeah, so that was me. And hey, what's going on? Morning, Angus. How are you? Hopefully you're doing well. I see you've been greeted in the chat. Chad says, yeah, we found this trend as well. People constantly tuning in the approximate time the band ends every week and leaving right when the message ends. Yep. That is precisely what we hear as well, which makes you wonder, like, good morning, Little Mac. How are you? Good to see you again. It doesn't make you wonder. It's just very fascinating that people are interested in certain things, and it's not necessarily the music portion, because like there's so much music done excellently elsewhere, right? And it's available 24/7 with Facebook and Spotify and all these companies. So music is not the thing that people are tuning in for. They're tuning in for the unique message, which isn't available 24/7 because people want to see it done live. And there is an aspect of lecture and an aspect of teaching that's done with, that has to do with live current events, that has to do with the here and now, that is not necessarily done with music. So I find that to be the case, that it's more about the live content, the teaching piece that's being, so we're not really like pushing too hard on the music side because it's not what people are tuning in for. Hey, while I have no opinion or experience of this particular subject, I did a police department's memorial service recently. There was a bagpipe as well as 2 different ceremonial marching groups. Wow. My Audio-Technica BP 4025 earned its keep that day. That's great. It's been a bagpipe mic twice, and it handled it admirably both times. Somber and emotional occasions both times, sadly. Well, so what you're trying to portray in this moment is the feeling of being there, right? And so to have the correct equipment helps you portray that, actually helps the technology be more transparent, right? So when you have the wrong equipment, the technology gets in the way and you kind of see the limitations. We see that with video that has like bad coloration. We see that with audio mics that are not crystal clear, or that if you have, and like, say I've got to position a microphone somewhere that's not optimal, distance, and do you have a shotgun mic instead of a condenser mic, and the blah, 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 blah. All of these options, you have to really, walk through the, you have to walk through what it is that you're going to use, because you don't want the technology to get in the way. And that's, essentially, you'll notice in this video that my wife is in here, you'll notice an RE20 sitting in that shot. I did take this one down, and it seems to capture her voice really well, and better than the other options that we have. But not to say that the options we have down there are not sufficient. I bring this one on purpose because of Holly's voice. I like to use it for her singing particularly. It makes sense that when you look at other secular YouTube channels, each video is usually one format, either educational, comedic, musical. Rarely is it a variety show. I agree. Did that show? Why? This is a little annoying that they're not showing up. Here we go. I agree. And in much, in many ways, church services are that way, right? Where there's multiple things happening, multiple people teaching or talking, and typically you have a public speaker. In business terms, you'd have a public speaker who's going to be your lead pastor or minister, and then he's going to be working on his public speaking ability. You'll notice that churches that don't have very big followings usually don't have a super dynamic speaker. Those things go hand in hand, but also the quality of the content also needs to be there. So I've heard really like guys that are really bad at their speaking approach, but have really good quality content, and they have big followings. And then I hear people who are super dynamic, but are not very deep in where they're going, and they have super big followings. But then the people that really blow up are those who are both dynamically engaging and deep in what it is that they're presenting, whether that be, something spiritual or not, maybe just business concepts, or maybe it's, teaching how to use software or something like that. People who have really good engaging content that way, and they're an engaging speaker, really knock it out of the park. And so that's when you get that sort of the things that are feeding each other, because not only are you getting the folks who are attracted to the way that the stream looks and the way that the presenter is delivering the information, but also then they're consuming the content of it as well. And so, yeah, there are a lot of public figures that can be engaging in both the way they present the content, but also the content themselves, and that really makes for a great, it's like the pinnacle of what it is that you're kind of after, getting both of those. Hey, absolutely. The 4025 is the perfect ambient mic. It lives near the cameras to give the audience's ears perspective. Utterly dreadful for dialogue, but perfect for applause and for loud sounds. And so we have looked at this microphone before, as I recall. The 4025. We'll jump over to Sweetwater and have a quick little look. The Audio-Technica BP4025 stereo large condenser microphone. It's a cool $700 by the time you get it home, and I can't imagine what it is in Canada because prices are always inflated across the border. They're inflated here, but they're inflated there even worse. Is that a 5-pin? Wow. Interesting. Because it's stereo, right? So you get left and right. That's cool. Very cool. It's like when you listen to a podcast that started with 20 minutes of music. Yeah, and okay, so interesting thing about that. I'm running an experiment right now with the content from our Safe Harbor channel, where I am, after a couple of weeks, I cut the sermon and I just post the lesson on Facebook after the fact to see what the difference is between who watches the live service again and who just goes for the content. And I'm going to run it for 6 months to see what happens. But my suspicions are that my cutout sermons that are just the lesson piece themselves will get the majority of the views. Just because I think people want to get to the content, but need the convenience of just let me click on the one thing so that I can listen to the audio and maybe watch the stream. And again, remember, in the video world, audio is king. So it doesn't really matter what the stream looks like, because if they're not watching it live, then they're probably listening to it in the background. Most all videos I watch, podcasts or whatever, out of this office is done as background noise. And so I put on a set of headphones or have some nice Mackie monitors, and I'm just watching. I'm working while listening to it on a different tab, right? So I'm not actually watching the video production. I'm listening to it more like a podcast, which you're absolutely right. That is the truth. That's a really good point. I'm a very secular person, but personally and professionally, variety shows are very rare. Pretty much just grads and funerals. Yeah, we have indeed. It's expensive enough that it doesn't make sense for most people to own one. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to afford this just for funsies, but my limit is more in the $500 realm, which is where this guy sits, and that's a rare buy, right? Like, I'm only going to buy this microphone once, unless then I'm setting up some sort of like interview situation where I need to have some podcast set up. But I'll only buy this microphone once and treat it like the value that it is, and being very careful to carry it around in its EV case, which is protected with foam and whatever. But by golly, it is wonderful. I would love to get my hands on this thing just to try it out. I think that would be really cool. Well, I have that mic too. I use it on game cams. My Panasonic ENG camera has a native 5-pin XLR input. Oh, that's cool. So you can bring stereo across from the camera. The AT8022 is a lot more affordable, but has less delicious specs. Ooh. And I own the Audio-Technica 2035. All right, so let's check these out. So let's go with the 2035, which is where Little Mac is. So it's like the little brother, looks like. And we are running not stereo, but 3-pin. And oh, I've seen this on a lot of podcasters. This is like the third alternate to the SM7B and the RE20. I've seen this one around. And for, $150, you probably can't go wrong. if you're just needing to capture audio, talking, that's probably very sufficient. Sadly, none of the work I've done with the 4025 is publicly accessible. Ugh. Come on, Angus. Only working for the highest bidder. No, I'm kidding. The Audio Technica. There we go. The 80. What did you say? It was the 80. It's right here. 8022 is a 400 mic. This has the 5-pin, and it comes with the split cable for stereo in and out. What specs are different on this microphone than on the 4020? I've already asked this, the 4025. I would love to compare it. Is there Sweetwater offer a compare button? Compare this to other brands. Can I select which one I want to compare? Let's jump back to this one real quick. Let's go Audio Technica condenser mic. And then there, oh, look, a compare button. So we're going to go with it shows recently as well. What did you say? 4025 and the here. Compare and compare. And you know what? I'll throw Little Max in there as well. Compare. Yay. All right, here we go. So the 4025 and the 8022 and the AT2035. So we've got XY pattern, stereo, XY, and cardio, which you would expect for these price points. Maximum, they're all kind of the same. Has a battery option. Really? The output impedance 170 ohms versus the 250 ohms and 120 on Little Max. Signal to noise ratio, self noise, and then additional options. So on paper, we're getting similar frequency responses. My question for you, Angus, is what is it that you specifically like about the 4025 over the 8022? I would love to know that. So here's the surprise. I just spent a very significant heap of money on 4 channels of Shure SLX-D wireless. I wanted dual rack mount receivers with SM58s and lapel transmitters for all 4 channels. I bought the 58s as bare transmitters and the rack mount receivers with belt pack transmitters. I was absolutely stunned to learn that they didn't include lapel mics with the belt pack transmitters. Yes, that is shocking. You would think that they would add them into the mix, but apparently not. Technically, you can listen to clips of mine on various tennis tournament websites. Oh, nice. Your work is out there, is it? The technician who was doing the event for me was able to secure rental lapels to cover that event. Nice. Always good. Yeah, I've done some recording recently in this studio and used this microphone. It was like a voiceover. And man, the amount of information you get out of a mic like this over a lapel mic is just so incredible. There's just so much more data. And I was very happy to hear that. I still had to place an emergency order for 4 more lapels at the cost of my beep. Oh, yikes. Yeah, that's a lot of money. At the cost of the 4025. Yikes. That sounds like a doozy. Sorry to hear that. That would stink. Let me jump over and just see. Okay. Just making sure we're still good on Facebook. I'm just looking at these reminders, at these notifications. There's nobody commenting on Facebook, which is really what I was going for here, is making sure that people aren't missing the fact that it's only on YouTube today. So there we go. What? All right. So, went down to Nashville, did some recording. That was fun. I got to visit with a friend of mine, friends of ours that we've had for many years, and got to see some of the city. So that was really cool. We went to historic Franklin. We drove around Murfreesboro, which is on the east side of Nashville. It's like 30, 40 minutes away. Went to Franklin, which there's lots of history there with Franklin, Tennessee. And then did get a chance to check out many of the local restaurants, but also, what else do we do? There's a lot. Oh, we went to the Ark Encounter. So if you're ever in the Kentucky area and you want to go visit the Ark Encounter, it was very impressive. You know, I looked up some of the Wikipedia specs on this. But basically, it's a recreation of the biblical story of Noah's Ark and what that might have looked like. And so we had a chance to walk around. It is a humongous place. No wonder it was built in Kentucky, because they have a lot of exhibits. It's basically a huge museum, and much of it is not much of it. Some of it is open to interpretation as to how much of this would have happened, and it's, like I said, a very interesting. I don't know if you'd say museum or not, because it's not like they have artifacts or something. It's just taken from that biblical story. So we went to the Ark and had a look around. We're able to get the kids in for free, which was amazing, because our tickets were very expensive. But they also have like a petting zoo, and they also have a carousel, and they also have a bunch of other things on the grounds. And so we spent Wednesday of last week walking around here in the morning, and then right around lunchtime we finished up and continued our trip down to Nashville. So that was fun. Had a good chance to look around that and see all the different things that they had put together in that exhibit. So the 4025 has a little lower self noise, and higher SPL handling. It's a true left and right stereo. The 8020, I believe, is mid and side, meaning one element pointing forwards and the others at 90 degrees. I much prefer the left and right of a true audio. The lower impedance is also very slightly better for longer cables, but the 8022 is still XY. It has a wider splay and less forward bias than the 4025. I guess that makes sense. That's probably why I didn't like it as much. And of course, for the price, the 4025 is just simply a better mic. For the price, the 4025 is simply a better mic. Well, there you go. Opinions abound. I haven't heard it, so I can't give my full opinion on that. But sounds pretty great. And one of these days. So here's the other thing about what we do at Safe Harbor is I don't really have a need for an audience mic, because we don't really have an audience. The point of what it is that we do is to provide services to people online. And so we only have 20 or 30 people in the studio at any time on any Sunday morning, but we have a larger following online on YouTube. So, yeah, it's been a kind of a bizarre way of thinking about what it is that we do. And I've had to reorganize my thoughts, because I'm always used to the in-house service coming first and like making sure you capture that and then piping that out online. Whereas we're really focused on the online aspect first, and then the in-house experience is kind of secondary. So I haven't needed ambient microphones other than the fact that we do run in-house mics for singing. So when they're singing along with songs, we do add some of the in-house mix so that people can hear there are actually people in the audience. So yeah, let me look here real quick. Got a request. Okay. So that was a busy trip, and I'm happy to be home. We're all quite tired. We've had a couple of days to recover. I did drop my wife off at her parents' place on the way through Wapakoneta, Ohio, because her parents 2 weeks ago had a tornado go over their house and destroy much of their property. So she went there to help for 30 hours or 36 hours or so, help with the cleanup and try and be around the family and spend some time with them. So that was really good. I drove all day yesterday to Ohio and back, which they live over in the Lima area. And so I drove down to Ohio, was there for an hour, and drove all the way back. And the whole day disappeared on me. It was one of those days where I dropped the kids off at school and I headed for Ohio, and then I turned right around and came back. And when I got back we got back just in time to pick up the kids from after school. And when I got back, my brain felt like no time had elapsed at all. I felt like I was just here. I just dropped these kids off. But I had been driving for 7 hours at that point. So I missed the whole day. I didn't get any work done other than driving and picking up my wife. And then we got back, and we've been trying to get back into the routine of things because we were away last week, and then mom wasn't home for 2 extra days, and on and on and on. So it was quite an out of routine. And today is kind of the first day of routine where actually, and my wife is going to be staying at school all day today because she's going to make up some hours that she wasn't working this week. So even today's a little off routine, but all good, all good. So that was a busy trip, and happy to be back here. Now, I run the social media stuff for the congregation that I work for, and last night I had a video short that technically went viral for us, what I would say is viral. It's got like 10,000 views and a whole bunch of subscribers and a bunch of likes and everything. And it just kind of went off. And I noticed it kind of gaining a lot more viewership last night before I went to bed. But then this morning I woke up and saw that it had crossed the 10,000 viewership threshold and, had gained a lot of traction overnight. And I don't know why, other than the content is great of the short, but I didn't really do anything different than what I normally do. What I did notice is that the content of the short was of a very personal nature in terms of like having a life of hardship and why you might be having a life of hardship. And I noticed that content seems to resonate more with the type of viewers that YouTube shows our stuff to. And I'm thinking that's maybe why it struck a chord, but I don't quite know yet. And so I have to kind of wait a few days for the analytics to come out and see like what terms were people searching and what type of audiences did it resonate with and what age group and all of that. YouTube is a very interesting place because unlike Facebook, which is more like 55-year-olds and older for the most part. And unlike Instagram, which is like 25 to 45-year-olds, or maybe 35 to 45 or 55-year-olds, like it's an older age bracket. And then TikTok, which we are not on, but has a younger, that's more teenager into 20s. There's an interesting range of ages that certain social media platforms cater to, but YouTube is kind of really wide because it's a global platform and it doesn't really cater to a specific age group. There's all sorts. The major age group that's on there is 35 to 55-year-olds, but it still covers teenagers. It still covers folks that are beyond 55 years old. And it's an interesting cross section of people. And so the YouTube analytics for that video short, I'm anxious to see them, although we have to wait more than 48 hours to get any sort of analytical data out of it. So yeah, it's strange to have a clip that went viral. I'm excited about that because who knew? But who knows what's going to go viral? But it's cooled off now. Since then, it's kind of plateaued, which is you find that after about a day, YouTube stops kind of promoting it, stops kind of pushing it, and so we're kind of probably peaked out at about 10,000 views and a whole lot of subscribers. So that was wild to wake up to. Because normally we're in the 400, 500, 600 range view, and this one was 10,000, so it must have struck a chord and kept going. My previous one that kind of went viral was like 5,600, and that was back in February. And yeah, that was a big deal. But this one has got the most amount of likes possible that we've ever gotten, which is over 900. And like 70 people subscribed to the channel because of this one short, which is just wild. So we've had another one launched this morning, which has not really like caught on, but we launched them at 10 o'clock and then they kind of go viral in the evenings and at nighttime, or if they kind of gain their viewership in the evenings and nighttime. So time will tell. It's a long game. It's not instant, which is always, you always want to like, okay, it's going to go live now. And you think that it's going to gain a lot of views, and that's just not how it works. So you have to play the long game a little bit and wait a few days and then see what strikes a chord and what doesn't. So yeah, interesting stuff. All right. So, YouTube analytics is an interesting world. So you're not trying to get your pastor to preach while doing the floss dance on TikTok? I don't think Patrick would ever do the floss dance. I don't think he would dance, period. But it's funny because there's this whole world on YouTube in particular that talks about churches working in social media, and they talk about, what should your role be in social media and where should you be. We've been hesitant with TikTok just because of, some of the political sides of it, but we've been hesitant with TikTok. The unfortunate thing about that, and a lot of churches are like this, is that a large portion of the young generation is on there and they're being influenced through there. And so if your stuff's not on there, you're not a part of that voice. So, and that goes for anybody, but yeah, if you're not where people are, and regardless of the politics about a social media platform, if that's where everybody is, then you have to weigh that pretty heavily because you're specifically choosing not to participate. So we're not there yet. I don't know if we will or not in the future, but we're not on TikTok. So that is all to be decided at a later date. All right. And then lastly, I want to talk briefly. Well, I'm already almost at the top of the hour. Man, I talk a lot. I want to talk briefly about the BlackMagic studio converters, because this is the next step where we're headed with our BlackMagic units. And so they're not ATEM converters. They were the studio converters. Let me look up the BlackMagic site before I pull it up here. ATEM converters, fiber converters, blah, 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 blah. This right here. So we have two BlackMagic studio cameras, the 6K EF lens mount cameras. And we are connected via SDI in and out. But while we installed them, we were kind of talking about the nicety of having a one cable connection. And this was the Bird Dog philosophy, right? Power, video, audio, control, all in one location. Well, the studio converter basically takes those SDI connections and makes them into an Ethernet connection with PoE. And so if you were to want that one cable connection, this is how you would do it, is you would have, your camera in, camera out, and you could, run your reference time code and all that stuff. But basically 2 SDIs into this converter from your what we were running a Constellation ME2, and then out to your camera with 90 watts PoE plus plus. Well, almost PoE plus max is what it is, but it's 90 watts to power the camera. And then you at the camera side, you're only running a single Ethernet cable. You know, it's a 1 cable connection, which also means then that you could run a bunch of extra cable, or like spool a bunch of extra cable, hundreds of feet in theory, and put your camera anywhere. So if you wanted to change your configuration, you just need to pull extra Ethernet cable and off you go. So it needs to be Cat 6 from the specs on the BlackMagic website, but this gives you the ability to run basically 10G plus 90 watts to a 1 cable connection and then into these little converter boxes. So, yeah, that's stinking cool that you then can just connect these to your Constellation and off you go. The thing about these is you also then have to buy a rack mount that these could all go in, which is fine, but you have to buy a rack mount, then it all goes into, you know, a single rack mount 1U channel, and then you can just daisy them into your ATEM. But I think this is what we're going to be doing the next month or so when I'm there, is running the Ethernet cable and doing, you know, getting these all connected up, because we already have the SDI ports and connections that are already going SDI in and out to each of our camera locations. Now it's just going to be a single Ethernet cable, a simple plug it in, power, you know, it powers on and off you go. So simplifying the install, but it does take like a $2,700 camera to $3,700 because these are $1,000 a pop. Plus you need to buy the rack mount. So accessories for this would be a, wait a minute. Where's the rack mount? So there is a BlackMagic 1U rack mount. There they are. So for BlackMagic mini converters, are they mini converters that I have? Maybe not. Maybe it's not this one. That's not made by BlackMagic. It's for BlackMagic, but not by BlackMagic. Anyways, you have to buy one of those too. So it's going to be a little bit of a project, but it'll be fun to kind of get it up and running, because I think it will streamline our setup and give us full advantage. I hate running DC power, for example, to the camera, because if somebody bumps it on the wall and it falls out, the camera turns off, and that's really annoying. So it would be great if it ran over Ethernet and would lock into the camera, and that would be where it's at. Hey, I'm just fine not being on TikTok. Yeah, me too. I can't see Patrick doing the floss dance either. Yeah, little Mac knows Patrick. I just put a couple of 150-foot Cat 6 SSTP cables on spools. So much nicer than having to hand coil them, though obviously takes up a lot more room in the van. Yes, that would. With all the other 2110 gear coming out, that absolutely makes sense. I'm predicting BlackMagic will be announcing SMPTE 2110 and or SRT support for these and more of their products at NAB. I'm really kicking myself for not getting to go to NAB this year, because the Bird Dog booth, the BlackMagic booth, a lot of the audio gear, like I want to see this stuff, because that would be really great. I really want to find out if parabolic microphones would work for us in, all right, so we're starting to talk about doing like on-location teaching, meaning that we would bring in a speaker from a different place live while we're doing the Sunday show. And so that's something I would like to go and actually see done and listen to, but I'm not too sure. Yeah, I'm not too sure if that's possible. Some of BlackMagic's recent firmware updates have been great, but the fact that they have had no press release implies something even better is around the corner. Yep, I imagine a grant stream will be coming soon. One of these days, I will make it to NAB, It's always right in the busy season, though. I've never heard of a parabolic mic sound nice. I have never. Strong words, Angus, strong words. Well, I would be curious to know. Anybody? Parabolic mic. Shop now. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Sound Shark. I've heard about these. I just want to try it. I just want to see. But I feel like I'm gonna need to buy this myself. Oh, that's fun. Parabolic mic with a dead cat. I just want to try it. We could check out some YouTube videos and see youtube.com Sound Shark parabolic mic. The Sound Shark parabolic microphone. Yoink. That's going to be a commercial. Let me pause the music because I know it's playing right now. Pause. And then I will make this commercial full screen so that everybody gets your Acura now. All right, here we go. So, audio on. Let's have a little watch party here. Sound Shark is practical problem solver for solutions where getting a mic close to a sound source is not possible. Sound quality is not the same as a close mic, but generally better than a camera-mounted microphone. Easy to use, lightweight, especially suited for capture press conferences.
First of all, what is a parabolic microphone? You can see here, sort of a dish. In fact, you could probably hear that when I turn it this way. It's amplifying the sound and sends it all towards a focal point in the.
I've seen this before, here. This video, I think.
And the Sound Shark is actually recording into my Sound Devices 888, and this is what this sounds like. So.
All right, this is what I want to. This is what I want to see though, because outdoor.
Bow is bent and drawn. Make from the shaft. Let it fall, rather.
Now hearing Sound Shark mounted on top of the camera, recorded to Sound Device 888.
What wouldst thou do, old
Loudness
man?
is normalized.
Thinkest thou that duty shall have dread to speak when power to flattery bows? To plainness honor's bound when majesty falls to folly. Reserve thy state, and in thy best consideration check this hideous rashness. Answer my life and my judgment. Thy youngest daughter does not love thee least, nor are those empty-hearted whose low sounds reverb no hollowness. The bow is bent and drawn. Make from the shaft.
Rode
Let
Video
it fall,
Mic
rather, though the
NTG.
fork invade the region of my heart.
Ooh, that
Be
background
content
noise is.
unmannerly when there is mad. What
Listen to the
wouldst thou
difference
do,
here.
old man? Thinkest thou that nor are those empty-hearted whose low sounds
Those noise
reverb
levels
sound
are
when majesty
distracting.
falls to folly. Thy youngest daughter does not love thee least, nor are those
20 yards.
empty-hearted whose low sounds reverb no hollowness. The bow is bent and drawn. Make from the shaft. Let it fall, rather, though the fork invade the region of my
Crystal
heart.
clear.
Be
All right,
content
never mind.
unmannerly when there is mad. What wouldst thou do, old man?
Never mind.
Thinkest thou
Because that's a ridiculous difference, and I have wireless lav mics, so there would never be a case where I would choose unless I would. Yeah, and I'm going to subscribe to this guy because that's I should have already just subscribed to him. I'm definitely missing a piece of the puzzle. I appreciate Chris Judd's transparency, honesty. It's a good channel. Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to Curtis. Curtis, not Chris. But yeah, there's definitely no difference to the lav mic stuff.
Typically, they'll use larger ones, but the idea is that they'll be able to capture some of the gameplay and stream that up to the
gameplay. That would be really like
way. I think for people that
like an ambient microphone,
18 meters away. So there's a time and a place for it. The thing that Soundshark does is they actually kind of pitch it as something that can work nicely in a variety of situations. Wedding videography, they suggest. Again, I've done a little bit of wedding.
Cool. Yeah, definitely check him out because that would be worth it to. I'm going to look at what else he has here. I've seen that microphone, a discussion about microphones, DJI mics, better podcast mics. Yeah, there looks like a lot of good stuff on here. So I'll check that out a little later. So, yeah, that last thing here where we're going to be going to these converters and creating that like one cable connection between our cameras, our new BlackMagic cameras, which look amazing, by the way. I mean, the service that that I showed you there from Safe Harbor, I'll pull that up again. Let's do it here. The service that we're running now just looks like so much better because the image is pretty consistent across the entire. So like when we're switching between the two, right? So we had Easter. I will scrub this here so we can find a place where we're switching between Patrick and, okay, so close this. So this is our live stream. This is cam 1. I was operating cam 2, but we don't operate the cameras during the service. We set and forget during service because we only have 2 angles really. And Patrick doesn't walk around. Now that we are manning the cameras, and I may propose this on the next live service will be like not for a couple more weeks. I may propose this for next time that he actually move around the stage and teach, and we're going to try live camera follow. So pretty excited about that. We'll have 2 cameramen, which means that we'll have both angles covered and give him some flexibility. Let me see here below, but this is cam 2. And before we were having issues, so many issues with color matching. And now it's spot on. And in particular, you can see it in his shirt. Look. See, his shirt's the same. Here's an interesting thing, though, that we found out about, which I didn't realize that this would be quite the potential that it is. But we were trying to color balance the cameras, and we kept getting them like a little. We felt like they were a little bit off each time. Come to find out, it was the crappy monitor we were using. When you look at the monitor, like if you're looking at, okay, so you know how multi-viewers you usually have your preview and your program up at the top, and then you have like another 8 sources underneath. That's our configuration. Well, we were watching camera 1, and I would stand in front of cam 1 that was in preview, and I would compare it to cam 2. And it was like looking at cam 1 in preview and cam 2 is live, and like comparing, saying like, yeah, they're just a little bit off. Then I found out that when I just took a step over and I was lined up directly with cam 2 and looking at cam 1, they were flipped. That now cam 1 was a little bit off and cam 2 looked correct. And found out that it was the crappy Asus monitor that we were using that doesn't have a proper viewing angle. I mean, the monitor itself is fine, but it was just like if you step to the side, the coloration changes. So we're going to need to get some monitors that we can output our preview and program to that are balanced and that have a wide viewing angle so that we don't have that issue. But be careful when you're balancing your cameras, what you're looking at to balance them, because it could be the monitor. The cameras may be totally fine, but it could be the monitor that's the issue, and that will cause your color balancing issues to happen. So heads up. All right, guys, it is after 12. I got to get back to it. I got a lot of social media work to do because I was gone last week, so I don't have any of that work done. And then I need to do this week's stuff. And technically, I'm done with next week, so I could do next week's stuff too. But I got a lot of editing to do. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for jumping in the chat with us. Always a pleasure to have you guys along. Thank you, Angus. Thank you, Chad and Little Mac. Always appreciate you guys hanging out with us every week. And hopefully we are planning on joining us again next week for more fun stuff. Chad says, makes you miss the built-in scopes from the P200, doesn't it? Well, yes, it does, for sure, because we definitely could easily use color balancing things. The monitors I want to get will have those scopes already installed, and that will make it a whole lot easier to balance. So we need to have that as a resource and get that kind of added to our fleet. Hey, have a great day. Always a pleasure. Angus, thanks for hanging out. And hopefully you're doing well up there in Canada. Staying busy, it sounds like. So NAB is coming quick. It'll be in another week. So we will chat more about that probably next week, what we're all anticipating and what you're hoping to see out of NAB. And then we'll probably do an NAB week coverage show, because everybody does that. So it'll be good to see what people announce. Really anxious to see what BlackMagic and Bird Dog are planning for NAB. It'll be a blast. So join me again. Take care of yourselves out there, and we will see you guys in the next one, whenever that is. Probably next Thursday around 11 o'clock. Whoa. Okay. Sorry about that. Probably around 11 o'clock right here on YouTube, and maybe on Facebook if I can figure out what's going on there. But be well. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.